always remember the sense of, like, I have a sense of curiosity, right? That's pretty strong. But this guy was like, you know, just wanted to meditate for 5 hours, sit with people, find out about Shaktipat, all these kind of things. And it was just, his hunger and his thirst for it was incredible. So when I found out a few weeks ago that he had written a book, I was on holidays, he told me he wrote a book, and he said, I'd like you to read the book. So I read the book when I came back from holidays, and I finished it within 2 days. Just blew me away. The book is amazing. It's outside. I highly, highly recommend it. Some of the topics in the book are just mind-bending. So I rang him straight away and I said, Gar, come in and have a chat with us. Let's talk about the book and let's tell people what you've been through the last few years, because he's been on quite a trip. So that's the plan tonight, is to find out all of that kind of stuff. And before we start, I'll do a short meditation, but before we start and I do that, I just want you all to give Gareth Duignam, an old pal of mine, a big welcome. Duignam. He's still attached to his name, by the way. He's not gone that way. So Gareth Duignam is in the house.
Hiya, buddy. Thanks, Paul.
Great to have you here, Gareth. Great to have you. So before we start, we'll do a small little tune in, folks. I'll just invite you to drop into your heart center and feel your feet on the ground, and just get a sense of your heart beating. And take a couple of deep breaths into your heart center, in through your nose and out through your nose. Just on the out breath, feel your body completely relax. And now, just as you're sitting in the heart center, just get a sense of the different feeling between your heart and your head. So your heart is more kind of around feeling, not around thinking. There's not many thoughts in your heart. It's more about, it doesn't have things like judgment. It's more to do with how you feel in the moment. So really tune into how you're feeling right now. Just let go of any thoughts. And I invite you now for this talk tonight to stay in that space of receptivity, of heart-centeredness. So whatever you hear tonight, if it resonates with you, take it away. If it doesn't, just leave it. No need for judgment, no need for any thoughts about it. Just drop it. And now, just before we open our eyes, just get a sense of the awareness behind thoughts, behind your heart center. A kind of sense of oneness, the awareness that's in us all, the thing inside of you that looks at your thoughts rather than reacts to your thoughts. Just, it's always the same, it's always constant. Just try and sit in that awareness. And as you open your eyes, stay in that place of awareness as much as you can for the rest of the evening. And as you open your eyes, let that bring a big smile to your face. And off we go. So what we'll do tonight is I'll chat to Gar for about 45 minutes, and then we'll have a Q&A with the audience for the second half. So we'll take a break for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we come back and we have a Q&A. So, Gar, you're very welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Good meditation, by the way.
Huh?
Good meditation.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So, where I want to go, the book really had a massive impact, right? And I suppose the best thing to do for people now is to set the stage, you know. So tell them about, I described it at the beginning, that curiosity, that interest you had in all things spiritual. Where did it all begin for you, and where did it all, what gave you that hunger?
Okay, so I wouldn't consider myself a spiritual seeker in the beginning. There was a fear of death and dying, and that unknown, that I wasn't religious. I wasn't, you know, I didn't have any beliefs, and it was always this sort of sense, well, you know, at any stage my life can be taken away from me, and there was just an unease all the time, and that sort of led me to want to find out what happened, if anything, when we die. Yeah, so I started researching past life regression. I think one of the first books I came across was Dr. Brian Wise, Many Lives, Many Masters. I actually did some past life regression with a guy in Dunleary. Again, didn't give me anything concrete, any proof. It was like, am I making this up in my head? It wasn't until I came across a gentleman called Bob Monroe that changed my life completely. So Bob was this wealthy middle America kind of, I think he owned a whole load of television stations and radio stations, and he started in the 50s, started having spontaneous out-of-body experiences where he just woke up one evening, he'd be floating up above his body, and he recorded all them experiences. He started to make a journal, and he then wrote a number of books on it, and I came across the books, and I was like, wow. So that gave me something to work on, and I started practicing and practicing and practicing, and he kind of gave some exercises, what you could do to have these experiences. But it wasn't until I came across Tom Campbell, that's when I started to have them.
It went up a notch, yeah. So
yeah.
Bob Monroe was from the Monroe Institute, and
Yeah.
Anybody heard of Bob Monroe and some of his work about around out-of-body experiences? So I had a period in my life where I was you know, drinking loads and having the crack in town, and then I decided I was mad into spirituality, and I was living in the city centre, and I had headphones on, and I was trying to astral travel out of my body, right? And all my mates were like, what is he doing? And I got mad into all those books, and just fascinated by the fact that we could bring our brain into a state of kind of coherence, and then we could access other dimensions, you know. But I want to go, so on your path, right, where it led you to then. So you went into Bob Monroe, and then you start moving more towards, what was the next step for you?
So that was the first out-of-body experience. It's like, it's undeniable that we exist beyond the body. It was like, when that happened for me, it was like, wow, this is real. I don't die, you know, my body might die, but I'll live on. And that was huge. That was huge for me. That was like, I know it. I'm not reading about it. I'm not believing somebody. That was my experience. So that went on for about 2 years. They would spontaneously just happen. I would wake up in the middle of the night with vibrations going up and down my body, and I would start hearing voices. I started hearing ghosts, seeing ghosts, all sorts of phenomena, paranormal stuff started happening. Kind of lost interest in it about 2 years. I was like, okay, where's it going? It was just like, am I just going to keep getting out of my body and traveling to different locations? So it sort of just fizzled out. I then had children, I had a business, and then went through an illness that lasted a number of years. And as I came out the other side of that illness, I was just running my business, going to the gym. I was in the gym one morning, and out of nowhere, I said to myself, I just kind of looked around the gym. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning. There was sun coming in. It was a beautiful morning, and there was music, and I could hear all the noises. And I just said to myself, all of this, everything that I'm hearing and perceiving is not outside of me. It's going on inside of my consciousness. And I just sort of stopped for a second. And as soon as I said that to myself, it was like polystyrene or Velcro snapping or ripping, just ripped inside in my mind. And then this rush of reality just came in and hit me. And the only way I can describe it is if anyone's ever had a lucid dream. A lucid dream is where you become aware that you're dreaming. So you're in a dream, something triggers you to realize that you're not, you're basically not in physical reality, you're in a dream reality, and you become aware and you know you're dreaming. So this was a lucid dream with something outside of this reality dreaming itself into me. The universe, God, a higher power. Yeah.
So the book is called, you know, Waking Up from the Dream.
Yes.
So, like, when we chatted years ago, right? Me and you got into. You actually introduced me to Tom Campbell. Anybody know Tom Campbell is big into? He says that we're living in a virtual reality. So this is a virtual reality, right? And when you say waking up from the dream, and there's a bit in the book where you talk about this reality, and you say, this may not be a reality the way we actually think it's a reality. So can you talk a little bit about that from your perspective now?
Yeah.
And Tom Campbell's work, because that was a big pillar for you, right? Tom, you went and did a big workshop with Tom in Scotland, I think it was.
Yeah,
and he would have been into a little bit of, similar to Bob Monroe a little bit.
Oh well, he was one of the
Monroe
explorers.
guys.
Yeah. So
so talk about that. Yeah.
But so Tom's language, they're his metaphors. So he's a physicist. So he likes computers. So to him, he speaks about it in a language of virtual reality because it makes sense to him. So me, I knew all of Tom's work. I was very familiar with it. But to me, it was a dream. It was something woke up in me that was outside of this reality. And it woke up and it realized that it had been dreaming itself into me. And I was a dream character, I was fictional. And in that moment, I also realized that I was everything I was looking at. I was this being that had just woke up was also what was creating reality. So I was the walls, I was the sounds, I was the sun coming in through the window, I was all the people in the gym. I could see all of these supreme secrets had been revealed to me like in an instant. I was everything, I was in everybody, but I was still dreaming in the other people.
And how long did that experience last, Gar? And what did it feel like, you know, going through your normal day? How long did it last?
Oh no, this is only like a matter of minutes.
Okay.
It was like no more than 5 minutes. It was overwhelming. It was like I just looked around. I had compassion for everybody because I knew I was that person. I was him. I was that person. There was a young guy lifting up his top in the mirror, looking at his abs. I was him. Just I was dreaming, and how it revealed itself to me was that I had just woken up in the dream through this form, but I was still sleepwalking in all of these people around me.
And when you think of this reality now that we're here in now, from the perspective that you're now at, how do you view this reality?
It's me. It's all me.
Everything is just one being.
I'm everything. I am everybody here. I am the awareness that's in behind them. They've all got their own free will. They've all got their own personalities. But the essence of what they are is what I am.
And I want to move on now to the kind of learning and where the book goes is a lot of it is kind of the Vedic tradition from India, you know. So there's an energetic aspect to this which is called Shaktipat. And Shaktipat is something that you're able to kind of give that to people as a transmission.
Sure.
Can you talk to people about exactly what Shaktipat is?
Yes. So, yeah. Hang on. So, during the awakening process, it's not just the perceptions that are awakening. There's also like a rewiring of your physiology, your nervous system. There's a life force that keeps you alive. It beats your heart. It grows your hair, and that's coiled up at the base of your spine. Your spine, in the root chakra, and that's Kundalini life force. And as you start to awake, in most people, it's completely dormant, lies dormant. And as you start to awaken, that life force basically wants to come out of its resting place and rise up through all the channels, up through all the chakras, and rewire your entire system for new ways of living and being and enlightenment. So as it goes, it pierces through all the different chakras on the journey. It doesn't happen in one go. It can take years. But eventually it wants to get up. It gets into the brain, and then the crown chakra. And again, these are just metaphors. There's the crown chakra opening. It's like the symbolic is the lotus flower.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's basically what happens. And when that energy gets all the way up and completes its journey, you can then awaken that life force in other people by meditating with them, by putting your hands on them, by intent, by looking at their photograph. You can then send that energy by will. Yeah.
And what's the difference with Kundalini? Is there a difference between Kundalini and Shaktipat?
Well, it's similar. So when the Kundalini goes all the way up, it sort of turns into Shakti for you, which is then this sort of like very fuzzy, warm, loving, feminine energy. Yeah.
So there's different flavors to these kind of energies, even though they're all coming from the one source.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to your own kind of journey, yeah?
Yeah.
So you went to Scotland, you did Tom Campbell's work. What happened there? Was there a kind of a pivotal moment there?
Sure. There was, yeah, lots of stuff that I wanted to talk to Tom about. I had all sorts of questions that I wanted to ask Tom. I didn't need to talk to him because they all got answered while I was there during meditations. And yeah, there was I think one of the it's in the book. I talk about wanting to know what Shaktipat was and can I give Shaktipat, and there was a process that happened. I was by myself back at my room one evening, and I started asking these questions, and then so basically wanted to know what the Shakti was. It started to manifest the Shakti in my body, show me. It's like, okay, this is what it is. And I was like, can I give it? And I had the full Kundalini Awakening at this stage, and so all of a sudden it was like as if the life force just fell out of my body. It was like I just left, my head dropped down. What felt to me like was my heart stopped, my breath stopped, and this hand, what felt like a hand, came in and started pushing on my chest. Now, I honestly thought I was having a heart attack. I was like, what's this? But I knew there was something happened. There was a process. There was something was being revealed to me or was being given to me. So I just said, look, I'm gonna go with this all the way. So I just stayed, and the hand kept pushing. It felt like a big giant hand, just pushing and pushing on my chest and moving. And eventually the hand came away, but it felt like my heart started beating again, and the breath came back, and it said, now you can give Shaktipat. Yeah.
And you just said there you had your own Kundalini Awakening experience as well. You've had
Yeah.
so many experiences, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to go into a few of them because they're just like, you would when I was reading the book, I was thinking, how would any normal person be able to navigate that, you know? But you obviously had a sense that you were guided and you were okay through all of these processes, yeah?
Yes.
The Kundalini Awakening, how did that come about, and what was that like?
So I was attracted to the going through this. I knew that there were certain things that I had to do, certain people I had to see, and one of them was receive Shaktipat. I just intuitively knew that that's what I had to do. And one of your guests a couple of years ago, I went to see him, Jan Esman. I received Shaktipat from him. I did an intensive with him. After the intensive, I went into states of ecstatic bliss where I couldn't function for 3 months. Couldn't even go to work. I was like blissed out of my head all the time. Couldn't get off the sofa. There was days I'd go into the shop, open up, and I'd like lock the front door and lie on the floor, laughing.
Laughing all day on the floor?
No, not all day, but there was times where I just couldn't I couldn't like serve a customer. I would have to lock the door and just lie out the back. Yeah. So part of the Kundalini Awakening is that you experience bliss, really, really strong bliss.
So like bliss, right? When I think of bliss, like say you get some good news, or say you get a great job, or say you just have an amazing time with your mates, right? And you're just having the crack, right? So that's bliss, right? And that's a sense of bliss. The bliss you're talking about just bowls you over. Is it like, how can you quantify that? Like, what's...
Well, the nearest thing you could put to it is probably ecstasy.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is literally just that energy is moving through your physiology, and it's almost, it feels like it's been drug induced.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then how do you kind of live normal? Were you able to get a handle on that and actually talk to people while you were experiencing that kind of bliss in your body?
So I understood what was happening with me. So if you didn't understand, so part of my work now is I have lots of people who contact me who are going through Kundalini Awakenings, and it's a nightmare for some of them because they don't understand what's happening. They've been, awakened during the night with energy going up and down their bodies, so they don't understand it. But was I able to function? Yes. When I say it was like really, really strong bliss, for certain periods of the day, I could still, manage my life. Yeah.
So Jan Espen, that was a big one for you, right? That was a big turning point.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
He gave you Shaktipat, so
yes.
He's a Shaktipat. I interviewed him a few years ago, and it was right over my head. Yeah. He was talking about blue beings, unity consciousness, Mother Amma, Mother Mira, and I remember in the dressing room with him, he was saying to me, Eckhart Tolle, he's down the tracks, he's doing his best, but he's not enlightened, and he had all this. There's a few people who were actually there that night, but the chat with him was so, complex that I just found it hard to convey it to the audience. We both did, he couldn't convey it to me, but you've kind of simplified it a bit more, and you've actually made it a bit more easy to understand. So talk about the levels of consciousness that you experienced as you went through this trip.
So I try and keep, I'm a very normal person. I'm no different from anybody else. I've got kids, I have a mortgage. I have gone through all them similar states as Jan. Like self-realization, God consciousness, unity consciousness, I've experienced them all. I try and just keep it as simple as possible. So what I do, I work with people online. I have a big group, and I've been doing this for 3 years now with them. So that's what I do. I talk about all these different states, and I try and explain it in the most simple terms possible for people, for them to understand, because there's no point just giving people a whole load of information. Their minds can't grasp this. They just can't, and it's a block, and it stops you. It actually takes you away from the direct experience. So we can talk about this till the cows come home, but and you can give people ideas and concepts, but they'll never have it. They'll never have the direct experience unless they receive Shaktipat, or they meditate with someone who's in them states. That's the fastest way.
And I mean, everybody knows that, you have an experience, or you understand something conceptually, that's to a point, but when you actually experience the thing, it's a totally different flavor.
When you are it, when it's lived,
yeah,
it's completely different.
Yeah. So you're, I loved in the book, at the end of the book, well, it's not like the end, but like you sum things up a few times, and you just say some of the most powerful things that people can do are, that in your process anyway, were mantras,
Yeah.
meditation,
Yeah.
and breath work. Now, breath work has been really coming true for me lately because I've been researching it for the magazine, and I found out some amazing things about. What I love about the breath is that it's so accessible. You can instantly hack into your own system
Yeah.
and change your internal state
Yeah.
through the breath. Not like a breath work practice, not like Wim Hof, not that kind of thing. Just actually slowing the whole world down and calming the whole system down. But the one that you advocate before meditation is kind of like a breath hold sequence. And I just love that you gave those 3 little steps to help people along their way. Anything you want to add to those?
So, like, this has been happening over 7 years, 7 or 8 years from that awakening. I don't really talk about the whole out of body stuff. It's just not my thing. It's self-realization from there onwards. That's the work I do with people, is get them there, walk them along that journey, and all of the things that were useful for me, I share with people. I don't keep them to myself. I'm like, okay, this is what worked. Shaktipat definitely worked. Go and see Amma, that worked. Go and see Mother Mira, that worked. And I tell people to do them things. Receive Shaktipat. You know, do the mantras. There's certain mantras that you can be initiated into that are really, really powerful. So that's what I do. That's why I put them in the book. I want people, to get the most out of it.
Yeah. The book is brilliant, by the way. I highly recommend it. If anybody's interested in this kind of stuff, which you obviously are if you're here, this book is amazing.
That's not it.
There's a couple of notes I wanted to ask you. Yeah, there's one I wanted to ask you about. So you had this experience where your son is rushed to hospital, right, in the book, and you get a call saying that your son, it's looking a bit tricky. Something's happened to your son, and I think your wife's on the way or something like that. And you get into the car and you drive to the hospital, and you say in the book that you go into a complete state of bliss. Can you talk us through what happened there?
Yeah. So it was during that Kundalini Awakening. I was going through these. I just explained these states of bliss that would come and go. I would be in work. I'd find it hard to deal with people. I'd have to lock myself out the back. So there was this period of time of about 3 months where this bliss was just coming daily, waves, overpowering. And one of the days I was in the shop and I received a phone call to say that I think he was like 5 or 6 at the time. He'd had a seizure in school and he was unconscious for the last half hour, and there was an ambulance had been called and they were taking him to Crumlin Hospital. And I knew the severity of what had happened. I was like, okay, I need to get there. And I was in the middle of serving somebody. I was like, look, I have to go. I have to close the shop. And as soon as I got into the car, this wave of bliss just came over me. It's just like unbearable bliss. And it was almost like it was telling me that no matter what's going on, in your life, on the outside world, that everything is okay, no matter what happens. And I knew, and I was driving fast. I was on the motorway. I was zigzagging in and out of traffic, but all the time it felt like it was in slow motion because of the bliss. Something had come in and had put its embrace around me, like the Divine Mother, just to tell me that everything was okay.
And when you say everything is okay, not that it wasn't that everything is going to be fine.
No.
It was whatever happens, everything's going to be okay.
I'm going to be, no matter what way this turns out, I'm going to be okay. Everything's just exactly the way it's supposed to be.
That way of engaging with life is a different level. That I'm okay with whatever happens. I think a lot of people here would have kind of learned that over the years, that you have to, not that you have to, but over time you move into that space where life is going to do what it's going to do. So it's how you react to it.
Well, it's going to break you unless you start bending to it.
Yeah, you just flow with it.
You flow with it, no matter what's thrown your way.
Yeah. I want to talk a bit now about the ego.
Sure.
And the personality of Paul, the personality of Gar, and the personality of people here.
Yeah.
Where is your ego right now in terms of your reality? The personality of Gar.
So ego. One of the things with enlightenment is, or with awakening. I don't like the word enlightenment, but awakening, because it's a process. Is that people have this concept of killing the ego and the ego dying, and it doesn't die. It never goes away. It just, what happens is your sense of I-ness disappears eventually, and when that sense of I-ness disappears, the ego is no longer in service. There's nothing to be in service to. So it basically starts to become obsolete. It starts to quieten down. It's always there in the background. It's always, the potential for it to come back and to reassert itself is always there, but it just loses interest, loses its power. It's no longer, there's nothing there to serve anymore.
So the ego kind of has its own agenda, you know, and it's also driven by survival.
Yeah.
Okay? So you don't have those driving forces now in yourself right now? No?
No.
No. Do you experience fear?
No.
Do you experience pain?
Now, I mean,
human emotions, you know, anger, jealousy, these kind of things.
No. No. I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anger was one of the last things to go. Yeah. Like on that first awakening, like that fear was just gone on that very first one.
You speak about in the book, you speak about the eye consciousness, that it kind of reaches into the heart.
It's located in the heart.
So the eye consciousness is located in my heart.
Yes.
Okay. And you had a feeling or something, a perceptible feeling where you felt it dropped out of your heart or something like that?
So when you inquire into your sense of I-ness, when you really like, where is that I located? It's not in the mind, it's in the heart. When somebody says something hurtful to you, you know, and this is going back to, you know, somebody being mean or, you know, saying something hurtful, you feel it like a knife being stabbed in your heart. That's where the I is located. And that sense of I, every time you have a thought, that I jumps up into the intellect, and then the intellect runs from there. I need this, I need that. Everything is revolved around the I.
So how do you live your life now? Are you in service to something now?
Yes.
What are you in service to?
To a greater force. Yeah, greater power, whatever you want to call it, God, the universe.
And for what, to what end? What is the purpose of all of that?
Well, it wants to awaken in everybody, not just me. It wants to awaken in everybody. Yeah. And it's now found a way to come into reality through them forces, the Shakti, the supermental force, and it can now create a positive change on everyone around.
This would be quite a planet if that was to unfold, yeah?
Well, it is, yeah, that's what happened. Yeah.
It is unfolding right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in the book, there's a part where you go into a thing called the Brahman.
The Brahman.
Brahman, okay. So it's like I've had tiny tastes of these things in the book, definitely myself, you know. And I found the Brahman, yeah? I found that a bit scary because I remember experiencing, I don't know if people have experienced this or anybody may have done psychedelics or had experiences where you get a sense that you're going to lose who you are into nothingness, right? It's gone, and you're not going to get it back, you know. But the reason why I want to talk about the Brahman is because I had this feeling one time that I felt completely neutral about everything, and probably lasted about a couple of weeks. I think it was after some kind of psychedelic thing. So it lasted about 2 weeks where I didn't care about anything. And it kind of scared me a bit, you know. It was like complete neutrality. But I got a sense that there's an aspect of God that feels that way, completely neutral. Because you know, most people will associate God with love, you know, the love vibration. We're all into the love, right? That's the buzz. But when it's a neutrality, it's a different flavor to it. So you went into that state for a period of 6 months. So you would that be correct?
Yeah, became it.
You became it. So you're walking around completely neutral about everything.
Yeah, it's just like, so there's a part of consciousness that was, before it was conscious, it was just void. It was primordial awareness, primordial consciousness. it evolved into something, God eventually. So part of the awakening process is that consciousness has to remember itself before it became conscious, which is this place outside of creation. Now, when I say outside of creation, I'm talking about here, I'm talking about your astral realms, heaven, the gods, the goddesses. They're all within creation. That Brahman state is outside of creation. Yeah, and it's nothing. There's no time, there's no love, there's no nothing there. Complete void.
How did you navigate that, Gar?
You don't. You're dragged in, kicking and screaming.
Right, but
Yeah.
you walked around living a life in that.
So when you return, part of your awareness has then merged with that. Yeah. So your soul or your self, what we're talking about, self-realization, is a droplet of that Brahman that's entered creation. So that's what's happened, is that your soul has been sucked back into its primordial self. And then when you return, it's like everything is just, it feels like it's not real. So everything is just manifesting in front of your eyes and collapsing as soon as you turn away. People didn't exist for me. Now, when I say that, I know it sounds very, but literally, like when I would turn away from you, you would no longer exist for me.
The sense I'm getting of it is in near-death experiences, a few people talk about going to a void.
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about?
It feels like a near-death experience because
Okay.
you're going to be annihilated. It's not that you're going to die, because there's something after you die, your awareness stays on. This is that you're going to be annihilated. That's what it feels like. Yeah.
So this is the kind of black space.
Yeah.
The dark. To describe it as the darkness now, this is where all of creation comes from.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is like the foundation.
Yeah. So
Okay.
all of creation is painted on the canvas of that Brahman. So it's like the wall there at the moment. Behind that, it's Brahman. I know most people think, well, it's not. It's outside. But really, everything has just been painted on that canvas.
So from where you're at now is the essence of God, if we want to call it God, right? Which is, God would be more creation.
Yes.
Yes.
There's an intelligence in God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is the essence of God, is it that love?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. So there's no, so in your awareness, that soul, there's no love there. The love is in God.
It's good, isn't it? So, yeah, we could talk all night, but we'll keep going anyway.
Sure.
I want to talk a little bit about past lives.
Yeah.
Because that comes up in the book as well.
Yeah.
Did you see all your past lives?
Not all of them, but I've
Okay.
seen, yeah, the most, the last three, yeah, that were pretty.
And what's this? Like, what's the crack there? Are we, like I remember once going to this place and I was thinking these people had died. You know, I was looking at a tombstone, you know, or a gravestone, and I thought, if there's no time, like, how are they in the past and how am I here now? So what's your perception of time when you saw your past lives? When we say past, they're just other parallel experiences, or are they actually in, you know what I mean by that?
No, they're in the past.
They're in the past,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And what did you see and what were you shown and what was relevant to now?
So, I mean, there's a reason why we don't remember our past lives. That there is a reason, because you would be coming in with memories of loved ones, children, you know, and that would affect you in this life. So there's a reason that we come in with all, you know, with a fresh slate. So I was shown, I would wake up. There was just this part of this process of me awakening was that I had to be shown these pretty significant past lives. Yeah, where I was in my last life. Yeah, I was. Yeah.
You want to tell us what you were?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot in it.
Yeah.
But there was one where I was living with Sri Aurobindo and the mother. I don't know if anybody knows who they are. Yeah, they had a big ashram in India, and I lived there as a devotee of the mother.
Okay.
Yeah.
the Divine Mother.
No, she was a woman who was the embodiment of the Divine Mother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Where does somebody like some archetypes, like the goddess Kali that we spoke about earlier before we came on?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
These archetypes, are these beings have visited this planet? Are there actual beings that have come here, or are they kind of metaphors? What's your feeling on that?
So there's what's known as avatars. So they consciously incarnate onto this planet to help humanity. So Amma would be one, Mother Mira, Jesus. Yeah.
Okay.
So they are real people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've encountered some of these beings in visions and stuff like that.
Yes.
The blue being is one that you've encountered.
Yeah.
What was that like? What was the... Did you come across Jesus, Christ consciousness, that kind of thing?
No, because it's not my gig.
Okay. Okay. So it was more the Indian kind of style was what was happening for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're just metaphors.
Is that the way consciousness works?
Yes.
It reflects back to us what we are comfortable seeing.
So we need the image to be comfortable with. It doesn't. So it, because of the people that I had been working with and my group, a common thread was the Vedic awakening systems, self-realization. This is the language we were using. So a lot of that language is colored by these goddesses and the gods, Krishna, Kali, Durga. So that's why I was showing them. It's consciousness using that form to sort of show me where I am, a signpost.
So there's nothing here?
It's all just one, manifesting as all of these different gods and goddesses. Yeah. That's not to take away that you're not having an experience as Paul and I'm not having an experience as Gareth. Yeah. But at the core, it's just one consciousness manifesting itself as the many for its own enjoyment and for its own evolution.
And its own expansion.
Absolutely, yeah. And it can only do that by becoming love.
So it keeps just journeying back to love all the time.
Love, over and over, yeah. That's what it all comes down to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when we talk about human love as compared to divine love, what's the...
It's different.
Tell me how different it is.
It's egoic wanting. Most people don't know what love is. Most couples who are together, they're not really in love. They're in a state of, you do something for me, you love me, and I love you back. There's a condition on it. Divine love, there's no conditions.
Can you give me a sense of divine love, what that feels like?
It's just loving for the sake of love.
Loving for the feeling that's within yourself.
It's just there.
Just flowing that to the person.
It's because it's you. You're loving yourself.
At the end of the book, you talk about the journey of a soul.
Yeah.
You kind of encapsulate what you feel from your perspective now is going on. But just before we go there, I just want to go through, without it being levels, but like different periods that you went through. You began with self-realization.
Yeah.
And then where did you go from there?
So that first awakening where I woke up in the gym, that was God realization. That was God waking up in me and realizing that all that knowledge, why he was here, how everything worked, everything unfolded in that instant. But I didn't stay. That didn't stay for me. That closed down after about 5 minutes, and I was left in a state of permanent self-realization, which is basically the awareness that's in behind the thoughts. When you were doing the meditation earlier, you were explaining, that awakens to the reality of itself, and it's just there all the time, awake. It's witness to you when you were born, it's witness when you die, it's witness to your entire life. It's just there. That's self-realization. That's the very first stage. The second stage is it starts to see itself on the outside world. It starts to get glimpses. Oh, I am the sunset. Oh, you're walking along the beach. I am the ocean. It starts to see itself in the outside. Then it moves into unity consciousness. Basically, what's keeping your consciousness separate from everybody else and the world, something is removed, and you then merge into your surroundings. So everything is just experience. There's nobody at the core. Unity consciousness. Yeah.
And after that?
Sahaja Samadhi. You just enter, that sense of I-ness disappears. Then it goes into the state of the Brahman, and then there's the merging with that Supreme Being again.
And do you feel that you're only at the beginning of this as well? Even though it feels like you've kind of, you know, gone to a very high level in terms of this plane, that there are probably many other planes.
So that's why I don't like using the word enlightenment, because it's sort of...
Never stops.
It gives this picture of there's an end game, and there's no end game. Yes, there's a certain... these states of realizations that you can have, they can only go so far. You can finish that, but you can always become more love. That's the real goal.
So most people who would aspire to enlightenment, well, I know, like they would, or you don't like using that word, but that you would say to yourself, my life's going to get easier, right? If I get more enlightened, if I get less caring about, if I don't have fears, if I don't worry about survival, I'm going to feel better, right?
Yeah.
But then someone like Adi Ashanti describes enlightenment as a destruction process,
Yeah.
a destructive process.
Yes.
And you earlier on, I said to Gar, so does life get easier? He said, no, it gets worse.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not much of a brochure, you know, so that's not a good marketing, right? So what do you mean by that? I mean, the word worse is kind of not really relevant, but what do you mean by it just falls apart? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so everything that doesn't serve you or no longer serves you just starts to fall away in your life. So look, nobody would go after this if they knew what was going to happen. They just wouldn't be interested in it. So all of these concepts of enlightenment and bliss, it's really, really attractive to the ego. It's like, oh, look, everything else in my life hasn't brought me to happiness, so there has to be something in this enlightenment gig. So that's what is the carrot on the stick that gets you interested in this. And then all of a sudden it starts happening and it starts unfolding. And as it starts unfolding, it is a deconstruction. It's a deconstruction of that person or that personality and the ego. So what happens is relationships start to fall apart, your work, anything that was, it's no longer serving you as an awakening being. It falls away. So people's lives on the outside appear to be getting worse, when in fact it's just the universe maneuvering you into a better place down the road.
Do you feel you were driven yourself by ego at the beginning?
Definitely, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
So that ego gave you that curiosity.
Yes.
But then there was also a higher force coming to meet you as well. Okay.
There's your will, right, which will only take you so far, and the rest is grace. And the two are trying to meet. So it's like you're taking, a couple of steps towards it, and then it comes for you. And when it comes for you, there's no, it's a done deal.
It's do you feel it's where humanity is going? Do you feel there's a massive shift happening on the planet right now?
Well, it's
kind of obvious, isn't it?
well, it's like that's what it wants in everybody. It wants to awaken in everybody. That's its goal.
Hands up who wants it. When you've heard it tonight, does it appeal to you? Or does it scare you? Huh?
I think you have no choice.
Yeah, if it's coming for you, you don't have any choice. Yeah. So before we break, okay, what I want to do is Gar describes at the end of the book beautiful sense of creation from his perspective, and it's quite long in the book, but if you could sum it up before we finish.
Sorry, say that again.
Yeah, it's like, at the end of the book you say the journey of a soul.
Yeah.
So you kind of give your appraisal of what's going on.
Yeah. Look, it's very, very advanced.
Okay.
It really is, and it may be way beyond.
Give us a little flavour of it.
I mean, there's a process. There is an awakening process that happens, and it's literally self-realization is first. It goes through this process. Okay, basically what happens is that self or that soul wants to become God, or God wants to become it, and re-enter creation to live as God, as divine love. That's the goal.
Okay.
That's the goal, and it wants us all to get it. We can't move on until we all get there. So nobody's left behind.
So you mean we'll keep living lives over till we get there?
Yeah, yeah. So we come in like soul families. Yeah. And basically we can't, we have to like basically keep coming until we all get it.
And every member of the soul family has to get it, and then it's kind of like an ascension process, is it?
Exactly, yeah.
An ascension process where, is that my actual, is God ringing me now?
That's, yeah, direct
An
line.
ascension process where,
We want you back, Paul.
yeah, and it's like, people talk about things like light bodies and things like that. I mean, is that where we're going as well? Is that what happens?
I don't get into that stuff.
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. I'm
okay.
sure it's another avenue of it. I just try and
Okay.
keep it as simple as possible.
Okay. So this is an amazing conversation, yeah, isn't it? It's good. Do you like it?
Yes.
So we'll have a little break for about 5 or 10 minutes, have a scoop, have a walk around, go to the bathroom, and then we'll come back and we'll do a Q&A. Have you got some questions? Yeah? Okay, see you in the second half. Give Gar a big round of applause.
Thank you.
Not that he needs it because he has no ego.
I was waiting for an experience there. You know, that kind of
Yeah.
hope something really crazy happens. And what I found was I was smiling. I was just feeling good, right?
Yeah,
And that's it for me.
yeah.
And the thing, something came to me and said, smile more. You know, just smile more. That's what we got.
Great. Jennifer?
A lot of energy. Really hot, like just my temperature rose too much. Just a lot of energy in my solar plexus, jumping out. Hard to control it at times.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of keep trying to take my mind away from what was happening to me and relax into it more, but it was just very strong.
So that was dimmed down.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an intelligence to this energy, and I sensed that it wasn't coming at full power.
No.
Just because of the environment, the setting, it was like, okay, we'll do it, but we're just going to dim it down. Because you need to be in a supportive environment. I think you booked for my intensive, did you? Yeah. So when you come on that intensive, it would be 5 days. You're around supportive group, in nature. So yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
I think that,
Enjoyed it.
yeah, that's worth kind of noting, that the energy will just meet you wherever you can take it, in whatever setting you can take it.
Yeah.
So there's no need to be afraid of this kind of energy. Yeah.
It's not gonna. It's not there to harm anyone.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, questions? Oh, is your mic on? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'll do is, if anybody has questions in the audience, I'll go down with the microphone and we can ask Gar the questions from there. Is that okay, Gar?
Yeah, well, you might want to ask the audience now what their experience was.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody want to share anything or ask a question? It's up to you.
Could they feel it?
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anybody want to comment on the meditation there?
Yeah, I would. If I may. Just to say that, you know, the energy was very, very strong for me. This has happened to me before in different situations. I just start to shake all over,
I looked at you actually during
and
the
I
day.
just try to let it happen.
Yeah.
That's really all. But it's all consuming, so I can't think about anything, which is really nice. Just
Yeah.
okay, it's happening again. It's obviously something is going on.
Yeah. Oh, there is something going on. Yeah, yeah.
Thank
And
you.
just let it do what it's supposed to do. Don't try and stop the moving, the shaking. Just it's doing something. There's a process happening. Don't try. Look, a lot of people feel oh, I can't do this. There's people around. That's there's something is working its way through your system. Yeah.
Thanks, Maura. Yeah. Want to say something? There you go. You're dying to say something.
Oh, no, it was amazing actually. I felt it coming, you know, right from my solar plexus all the way up. I felt this intense love
I'm quite emotional. I have experienced that before, but it's quite a long time since I did. I just felt totally safe, looked after, like as if I was in the right place at the right time. I could feel your energy straight away the minute you sat down, and the tears just came from my eyes. I don't know whether they were tears of, they were definitely tears of joy. I feel I'm shaken all over. You know, it's just a wonderful experience. It's like you touch off that part of you that you don't even realize exists. And when that happens, it just changes everything for you. It's like you're grounded, but you're not grounded. You're somewhere else.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful experience. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. This is what I'm talking about. This, like, we can sit here chatting about it
Yeah.
all day long. I want to give people the direct experience of what
Yeah.
I'm talking about. It's the only way.
Yeah.
It's the only way, and that's what you did experience. You felt that warm, loving.
Yeah. I was totally
Yeah.
looked after. Pure love
Yeah.
is what I'd say.
That's what it is.
It is.
Yeah.
It just,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's the
Thank you.
divine feminine. Yeah.
Anybody else want to share on that? Or a question?
Thanks, Guy. That was amazing. So I mentioned to you earlier, I was having a lot of struggles with a lot of electricity running through my body at night, waking me up, and it's been really uncomfortable and quite fearful because of the intensity.
Yeah.
And so I started feeling it during this, and I also noticed almost immediately, like, the symbol of Ganesh appeared, and I have no, like, conscious alliance with the Indian lineages, not consciously anyway, and he just like literally threw energy at my solar plexus down my spine, and I noticed that after a while of those shaking kind of electrical impulses, just suddenly everything got really quiet. I was like, oh, thank God. Like,
Yeah.
I've been waiting to feel this for about a year, actually.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, because it's a relief.
Yeah, and that's just what I said to you when we were talking, that the
Yeah.
Shakti will quieten it down. Because at the moment, when you have Kundalini, it's a raw energy, and it's sort of like just it feels like a current in your body.
Yeah.
The Shakti just smooths everything out. It's really loving, nurturing, caring, and it will sort of come in and start to clear all them blockages and pathways in your system for that raw energy to then move the way it's supposed to move. So that's the benefit of having the Shaktipat, the Shakti.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
You have no idea what a relief this is. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, sorry. Anybody else?
Hi, Gareth. It was beautiful meditation, and the energy in the room was, you could feel it. It was quite, powerful energy, despite the alcohol. I've even had a pint myself, and I regret I had the pint now. But it was beautiful and well done. I'm curious. It's funny. 3 of the ladies here who shared their experience all mentioned the solar plexus.
Yeah.
I'd like to get your insights on why you think that energy center in particular is being triggered at some time for these people.
So the Kundalini is dormant at the base of the spine, and the Shakti will go to them areas to stimulate. That's what's happening. It's stimulating the Kundalini to awaken. It's giving it an arousal. So you will feel a lot of energy around them areas. Yeah. Thank you. I wish I could see it, but I can't.
Did you say arousal? Yeah.
It is an arousal.
Yeah.
That's what it's doing. Yeah.
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 Anybody else got one? Yeah.
I'm loud enough, but I don't need this. I want to ask you, I'm wondering, you mentioned your children, I wonder how did you manage to parent through all that? Or how did you parent? Because it's a very, you know, like you are in a different way. How do you, or how did you relate to it? Or how did they experience it? Or all that? That must have been very interesting experience for everyone.
Sure, sure, yeah. So my children just see me as dad. I know I'm probably a bit strange to most people, but my kids just see me as I am just dad. I play video games with them. I do everything else, you know, that a dad would do. So they don't know any different. There has been some crazy stuff going on in my life, and the kids have seen it, and it's just, oh, there's dad doing more of his weird stuff. It's just water off a duck's back to them. They've grown up with me. But they're the two most loving boys you could ever come across. Yeah. So it's rubbed off on them.
Yeah, because you can't have a kind of experience life differently and parent your children as if you didn't. You know, you can't have borders like. So there is definitely part of you that's parenting.
Absolutely,
from
absolutely.
That point,
yeah, you're
or
still.
That place.
You're both. You're
Yeah.
both. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
If I need to, you know, tell them to keep it down, I can do that.
I wonder how they, you know, say, what your dad does. You know, like in the circle time in the crash. What does he do? Let me think about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Jennifer and this lady. Okay.
I had so many questions earlier, and most of them I've forgotten.
Well, that's why I like to do the meditation first. I know it will cut through all them intellectual questions that I was waiting for. So that's why I decided to do it, because we were going to do this at the end.
Yeah. But one of the things that came up earlier, and when you were talking about all the different stages you've gone through and what you've experienced, and I kind of went at one point, God, it sounds like something that may not be that great, you know, even though we strive for it, because as you said, the ego is kind of saying, well, this is not happiness, so that looks like it would be, and therefore I want that.
Yeah.
So there's an element of that, but there's also an element of, you know, being just drawn to something naturally and feeling that nothing else in life makes you feel the same way as this does, and that you're following a path that you're supposed to be on. But I did get a little bit scared, or not scared, but when I heard you saying that earlier, I was a bit like, should I stay on this path or just be comfortable where I am, just stay in this kind of zone, even though there's another part of me is going, well, it's a cop-out, you know? So why would we? Like, I know you said this is where we all have to go, this is how we evolve, and this is, you know, what we all need to do. To what end? Why? Why do we need to do this? Why should we do this?
Well, you don't have to do it.
No.
You have free will, and you can do whatever you want. Okay, so there is a lot of stuff, hardship that comes up around spiritual awakening, right? But it's a process. It's an evolving, and any sort of transformation is painful. I think we just quickly we use the analogy of the caterpillar changing into a butterfly. That's a painful process that it goes through to become that butterfly. So there is pain along the path, but it's the most beautiful journey. It's like, I'm blessed, absolutely blessed beyond belief. I wouldn't change anything in the world, any money, nothing. It was just the biggest blessing. There are all these amazing experiences, flashy stuff that goes on during this, but then when you come back, it quietens down, and you become very, very normal. Like I'm so normal. You've no idea. I'm no different from anybody else. Yes, I've had all these experiences, I work with all these energies, but you wouldn't know that. I walk my kids to school in the morning, I give them a kiss, I go on about my day, I do the same things that everybody else does. But my life is just divine. I have this connection to spirit that's always there, it never leaves me. It's like, it's there, it's just an embrace all the time, and I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah, that answers the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good, thank you.
Thank you.
That was a bit better marketing there, Gar.
Yeah.
Yeah, the meditation is very powerful. I think as soon as you started the meditation, I can feel this energy. It's almost like a very warm, a very still holding, and I feel the pure joy in it, and it's almost as what you described as the bliss. That's what I was feeling. And also, I feel, kind of vibrations, particularly on my head. Yeah, I can relate a lot of things you said about this process, because I just out of nowhere I started my process recently, so I'm only on the very beginning. For me, it's almost like I'm constantly in between. I'm in the dark for one moment, and then the second I was in bliss. So but overall, after nearly a year, it was very challenging, but I feel it's very rewarding as well, by letting go a lot of things, and by this energy clearing up things, I have so much more joy in life. So much more capacity. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So it is. It becomes, life is a joy as you start to awaken, or when you awaken fully. It's just joy and love. And you described it it's like a blanket of energy that descends, and it is bliss. When you connect to it, you can sense that it's just bliss. It's just bliss in the room. It's all around us. It's engulfed us.
Thank you.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you.
So powerful. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. There you go.
Thank you so much. You were absolutely right that I think I have about like 7 questions when the whole thing started, and then you answered for 4. And during the meditation, I was like, do I even want to ask that 3? What's going to happen if we answer? Does it even matter? But so more like, other than a question, it's just curiosity, just to kind of pick your brain. There is this theory, they say, that we are humans here to experience and give feedback to the universe so it can grow. And then you mentioned that the God consciousness, which we may call as universe, trying to awaken in each single being, so then it can all awaken, and you say that we don't leave men behind. So what is your theory that is the universe has experienced enough, and now we get to the stage that it wants to awaken? Or what was the point of the human experience itself?
What's the point of the human experience?
Yeah, so
from the perspective of God coming into it.
Yeah.
So okay. So it's complicated. so it's not, God is not a person. Okay, it's like a system, and it wants to evolve. So its options are evolve, stay the same, or de-evolve. So in order for it to evolve, it has to become more efficient, and its efficiency is love. So what it does is it sets up these realities, like VR, virtual realities, which is where we are at the moment, right? And God has descended down, it's split itself into millions and millions and millions of pieces, right? And entered into these virtual realities that have rule sets. We have gravity, we have all these, you don't open your door and you're in a different part of the world. It's just, there are rules here that we abide by. And what happens is we interact, we see ourselves as separate. We forget what we are, our true nature, and we see ourselves as separate entities. So this doesn't happen in one life, it happens over thousands and thousands and thousands of lifetimes, that we slowly start to realize that we're not ever going to find happiness in the outside world, that it's just not going to bring us that lasting joy. And what happens is the soul goes into dejection, and that just means that it's like you've just run out of road. You've tried everything, nothing is bringing you lasting satisfaction. And then the soul starts to look inwards. I can't find it in the outside, I'm gonna look inwards. We start meditating, we start, do whatever sort of spiritual practices. And the reason why it's split into, it's so it can learn, it can get feedback from all its different parts. So that's what's happening. Does that answer?
Yeah, now I just wonder what's your opinion on it, because obviously everybody has a theory.
Sure. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, anybody else? Coming to the end now. Question? Statement, okay.
Sounds like God was on the same business training course as I was. If you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah, no, I can see where that fits in.
Is that anything else?
Oh yeah, now
The what?
the Borg.
Just one question for you. What do you think happens to the spirit then after we die?
So when you say the spirit, what do you mean? Like the entity, the being?
The soul?
Okay, so the soul lives on. Okay, the personality disappears. The soul stays on. The essence of what you are stays on. And most people, it'll just keep coming back in lifetime after lifetime until it learns its lessons and becomes love.
Okay.
Yeah. So but it will keep coming back to learn.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. But the personality and the memories of this life, they fade.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks.
Sure.
Last question, or are we allow? Yeah.
Just want to ask, is this sourced from the land of India on this particular planet?
Say that again?
What's the connection with the land of India on this particular planet in relation to this energy coming down? It seems to be very India-centric.
Okay, so yeah, okay, so the East, they were very evolved, but that's what's happening now. Is it's because of myself and Paul were talking about earlier on. We have the internet now. We have technology, and all of them secrets that were kept in India are now spreading throughout the world. You can jump on a Zoom meditation now and be connected to some guru in India and feel that connection the same way I did the transmission here. It works over the internet. I do Zoom meetings every Tuesday and Friday, and I have people from all over the world, and they meditate on Zoom with me, and they feel that same transmission. So it's spreading through the use of the internet and information.
So is India like the landing place on this planet for this energy?
I mean, it was. It's not anymore. Yeah. It's everywhere. It's been spread out through so it's the same as like one candle can light 100 candles that can then go off and spread that energy. That's what's happening.
It's upstairs in the Queen's, in the Vico. That's where it is. Isn't it gas that we're just upstairs in a pub and we're just having mental conversations? And they're all downstairs having a few scoops. And they're all God as well.
Yeah.
Having a few scoops. And we'll go down and join them in a minute. Before we finish, Gar, is there anything you want to say?
No, I just, oh, well, look, you're all welcome. I offer meditation every Tuesday and Friday at 9 o'clock on Zoom. You're all, I don't charge any money. I've been doing it for the last 3 years. Everybody's welcome to join me.
And you also do one-on-ones?
Do one-on-ones, yeah.
They're like
yeah.
sessions, are they on Zoom or in person, or just on Zoom?
Mainly on Zoom, yeah.
On
It's
Zoom.
just so convenient. And then I do intensives as well, where
There's
people
a
can
charge
come.
for those, is there, the
Yeah,
healers?
the one-to-ones, yeah. But people can come and meditate in my group. I do YouTube videos. You can just go onto my YouTube channel, stick on one of my meditations and meditate with it and still connect to that energy. It stays in the videos.
It's called True Spiritual Awakening.
That's the truespiritualawakening.eu is the website.
.eu.
Yeah.
And just tell people about the intensive you have coming up as well. Is there any places left?
There's like one space left.
One space.
Yeah. Now I have another one that I'm doing with Jan Esman, a 1 day, coming up in a couple of like in a week or two.
Oh really?
On a
In
Monday,
in Ireland?
In British Bay, yeah.
In British Bay.
Yeah.
Okay. And
yeah.
there's a few spaces on that.
There's plenty of spaces on that one.
Plenty
Yeah.
of spaces on that.
Yeah.
Okay. So you find out about that on the website, I suppose.
No, it's not on my website, but I can.
Okay.
I can. If anyone's interested, just email me. It's on in British Bay.
Is that funny? Yeah. Huh? Yeah, it's not on my website. It's in another dimension, this course.
Well, people just find their way without.
Yeah,
me
if you
doing
really
any
want to
work.
find your way, you'll find your way.
You'll find me.
So
I won't even give you the address. You have to find it yourself.
I did quite relevant. So I was at home and I did the breath thing. I think the breath sequence is breathe in for 6. If you're starting out, breathe in for 6, hold for about 20, breathe out for about 12, something like that.
Yeah,
That's what I was doing.
it's 1 to 4 to 2 ratio.
1 to 4 to 2 ratio. Okay, so I did that. Then I did the mantras, Sri Aurobindo, and it was Gayatri mantra. Is
Oh
it?
yeah, very good one. Yeah.
So I did that one as well. And then I have you on there and I just click him on YouTube and I meditate with him. So I didn't think anything of it. And I did it for a few days. And then I interviewed you on Facebook the other day. So I was driving the car the other night and I start feeling this tingling sensation coming up from my legs, my feet. And I looked in the mirror and I thought, yeah, I kind of fancy myself at the moment. I look good. But I was getting aroused and I was like, am I getting aroused by myself? What's going on here? And then I realized that the only difference in my life lately was talking to this dude. And I thought, I wonder is he arousing me at the moment while I'm driving the car? And I'm just driving the car and it just, all I can describe is like tingly sensation. I was actually going to meet someone to have a pint and I thought, a pint is going to ruin this. Yeah. But in a way, the pint was a relief from it because it was actually quite strong. I thought I was going to burst out laughing, but at the same time, it's like you feel you can't contain it. You feel you're not going to be able to contain it.
Yeah.
So what's the best thing to do in that circumstance? Just completely relax into it.
Sure. Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
and have
absolutely.
a pint.
So that energy is coming for you. It's outside of being with me. So it has nothing to do with me. I'm introducing you to it. And then it's going, oh, okay, this guy is continuously turning up for the meditations. And all of a sudden it makes a beeline for you. And it starts working on you, like on random times of the day. And a lot of people, like people in Peru. And they're like, oh, during the day I can feel this energy coming in. It wants me to sit down and meditate. People all over the world. And it's just because they've been introduced to it, it then starts coming. It's a slightly different energy to the Shaktipat. It's that super mental force I think I spoke about related to Sri Aurobindo.
Okay,
yeah.
A bit stronger.
It comes from the top of the head. You'll feel it, and it seeps down through the body. Yeah.
What do you think?
What's that energy? The
super mental force. It's very hard to describe. So it's a descending force, and it can come in through the crown. And it can actually pull the Kundalini energy up as well. So it's slightly different to the Shakti.
The Zoom meetings, Zoom meditations, Gareth?
Yeah, group. Yeah.
So how do I click on that?
So just go onto the website and you'll see Zoom meditations. Yeah, you just have to, there's a password to get on. Just email me and I'll give you the password there's like 50, 60 people turn up every.
You'll be driving your car, fancying yourself within the week, like.
TrueSpiritualAwakening.eu is the website.
Yeah. So I would say one thing. I read the book, and I've read a lot of spiritual books. The book is, you have to read the book. If you're into this stuff, read the book.
So can I also just say that the book is a transmission as well?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So by reading the book, you'll be introduced to that. You'll just be sat there reading it, and then all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, I can feel something coming in. And it's not. It's just that's the vehicle that the energy's using is the book.
Tractor. I think the book is €10. I mean, it's just brilliant. I think it's 15 online, but here tonight it's €10. There's a few left outside. Gloria will take the money from you if you fancy a book. And we'll hang around afterwards. And will you hang around for a while?
Yep, absolutely.
And we'll hang around here, probably have a drink or a cup of tea, whatever you fancy. And before we go, I just want to say that we have an event on September the 1st back in here. We have Judy Satori, who's coming from New Zealand. She is a lady who practices light language, and very interesting. I interviewed her a few years ago, so she'll be here. We'll do a Q&A, similar format. Judy Satori, look her up if you fancy that one. And then on the 17th of September, we have a big event in the Irish Gospel Hall. Pia Bird is her name. She's doing a concert, just amazing. Don't miss it. That'll sell out because that lady's amazing. So if you're interested in going to see her, look her up on YouTube. She's amazing. And before we go now, I'll do just a very short meditation. But I just want to say to Gar, all those years ago when we had those chats, didn't think we'd be sitting here having a chat in front of an audience. But I just want to say I feel the journey you've been on, you know. I feel it. And it's great to have, you know, such an ordinary person come back and tell us what's going on, you know. And obviously the work you're doing right now is really important, you know, and I know it doesn't really matter at the same time, but thanks for doing what you're doing on the planet right now.
And thank you, Paul, for all the work you're doing.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for everybody who turned up this evening to,
Yeah, it was a great conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. Give him a round of applause before we go, yeah?
Thank you.
So just a very short meditation before we leave, and invite you all to go back to your heart again. The heart is a nice portal, isn't it, Gareth? Yeah. So just feel into your heart again. Nice portal into the divine. Now drop the heart and move into just this feeling of divinity and oneness. And get a sense that you're in a room and it's just you in the room, there's nobody else here. Just one being. Just feel into that oneness within yourself. Need for nothing. Just pure awareness. No opinion on anything, no judgment on anything. Just being. Feel a sense of love now, just go over you, waft over you. Get a sense of that love just lighting up your whole presence, your whole body. Get a sense of that light filling the whole room, the whole of Dublin, the whole of the universe, everywhere. Feel a sense of awe, a sense of gratitude for all that is, and appreciation. Feel a big smile go off in your heart center, in your human self. Feel a big sense of joy, sense of peace. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel yourself come back to your individuated self. And just give gratitude for all that is. As you open your eyes, bring a smile to your face. Thanks very much, everybody. See you next time. Thanks. Oh yeah, and get a few hugs before you go if you see anyone you found.